listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Chris in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, TV shows, games, books, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is part 3 of our Road to Celebration series of episodes where tonight we're going to talk about the ticket hangover. So if you have not been keeping up on current events, about 2 weeks ago, tickets went on sale for Star Wars Celebration 2027, and it was just craziness. Some called it a disaster. Some folks felt were very fortunate to get tickets, and I think most people's experiences kind of fell in somewhere between those at both ends of the spectrum there. So we're going to get into a lot of, what we know as to why some of those things happened. We'll talk about alternatives for anybody who still needs to pick up tickets and what that looks like. And then just kind of talk about our own experiences as we dealt with the ticket queues and purchasing tickets online. So to help me get everything kicked off here is someone who's with me every single week. Chris, welcome back to the show, or welcome to the show. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well, and I'm excited to talk about this. It's kind of bittersweet, but it is a hurdle that we had to overcome to continue on this road to celebration.
Yeah.
So I'm ready, and I'm excited to talk about our experiences.
Yeah, for sure. And just as a reminder, so we've been teaming up with a number of folks that are part of the official Star Wars Celebration, well, not official, but the Star Wars Celebration, unofficial Star Wars Celebration Discord server. And joining us from that is Joel. He's been here with for the first 2 episodes. And Joel, welcome back, man, and congratulations on securing tickets, because I think all three of us did. Yeah. So
I'm thank you for welcoming me back. I'm excited, as Chris mentioned, to talk. I'm just happy that May 6th is over. There was a lot of anticipation, a lot of anxiety, but for the first time in about 2 weeks, that Wednesday night, I was finally able to sleep through the night. So pretty happy to be past that date.
Yeah. And it was, we're certainly going to get into all of that here in just a little bit, but you guys have way more experience in celebrations and purchasing of tickets than I do. This was now just my 4th attempt. And at least in the 4 that I've had now, this was by far, bar none, the most troublesome, not for me personally, which we'll get into in a second, but just the overwhelming feedback and discouragement, it's just been a really weird negative experience, and I'm hoping that things will get better, right? It feels like we got to get better, get back to why we go to Celebration, which is to celebrate Star Wars and put all this behind us. I say that knowing that some folks unfortunately weren't able to get tickets and are still trying to get tickets. So it's a very sensitive subject, and we're certainly going to try to do our best to kind of maybe do some therapy and get everybody through all of this, right, and hopefully provide some options, like we said, a little bit later. So, all right, well, why don't we just jump right into all this? I want to kind of maybe set the stage and talk about our own personal experiences. How did that go? I'll start because mine's very, very short. If you watched the second episode or the first episode, I forget now, one of the episodes when we were talking about strategies and how you purchase tickets, I think is the second one. And we said the number of devices kind of really makes a huge difference, right? And so I had a small NASA control center set up here. I think I had a total of about 9 devices. Of those 9 devices, I had 1 PC, I had 2 MacBook Pros, and then the rest I had 2 phones that were on data plans, my cell phone, and then another one that I had. And then everything else was a tablet or that was a tablet. That was it. And then I did try to do a couple of different browsers, which I didn't really find as effective, quite honestly, on 2 of the PCs, 2 of the computers. And my experience was so unlike everything that I was seeing. I was watching the chat on Discord. I was talking to some people that I was keeping in contact, and just Chris was one of them, and we have a chat that we were kind of going back and forth and asking questions about whether or not who got tickets. But in 9 minutes, I was able to go in, buy my tickets, and I was out the door. I got my 4-day. Now, VIP was gone already. I think that was sold out in less that amount of time. But I had a very uneventful experience. I had no problem with the queues. My credit card information was all there. I just popped it in. It was so stressless, or it just was different than what everybody else was experiencing. So I am know that I'm very, very fortunate to have gone through that. And I will say this, I'll throw this one thing out there because we kind of talked about this when we were debating about, hey, what systems seem to have better responses or get in better? Of all those devices, they were all Apple centric devices, OS, iOS, and Mac OS. But my PC was the one device, and I never use that thing. Like that thing is, it's a $5,000 PC that I use to play Star Wars: The Old Republic. That is it. I mean, it sounds like it sounds crazy, but that's really all it does. It just sits here. It's a big boat anchor. And I was like, well, I'll just fire it up. It's one more device. Why not? And that thing moved immediately as soon as I got on. That little green guy started moving across the screen there, and everything else was a standstill. And I will just kind of end with this. When I was done and I had purchased my tickets, I went on and was kind of talking to folks. When I came back 2 hours later, every one of these devices was still in the queue. They hadn't even gone in. I didn't even have a place, but the bar had moved, but it just hadn't gone into that whole, you're now going to be entered into, whatever the message that comes up. So it's just bizarre. I mean, I guess it is the nature of the randomness that we talked about, right? That this is working as intended. But to think that I had 9 devices, one of which got through immediately and the other stood there for 2 hours plus and never made it into the queue really is indicative of kind of the frustration and what the experiences of other people were feeling. So that was my experience. Chris, I mean, I don't know if you guys want to commentate on that. Feel free
Albert,
to.
I do have an added question for you because 2 Wednesdays ago wasn't just about getting your 4-day ticket.
Yeah.
How did you do on merch and potential hotel?
So for merch, I didn't pick up anything. I debated back and forth. Oh, wait, time out. I did. I tried. Yeah. I messaged Chris when I got in. I was trying to buy the jacket, and my size was gone. Every other size was there, but I could not pick my size up. So I don't know why. So I just was like, okay, fine. But that was really the only thing that I was trying to get. And then in the process of all of that, I didn't think about the hotel, even though we did a whole freaking show on it. So I didn't buy a hotel. So if you're within the sound of my voice and you happen to have extra room in your hotel, I'll figure that out at some point. And usually there's enough people that we know from other shows or, supporters that I know personally from other conventions now that we've met in real life. I'll end up bunking with somebody. I hate to do that, but if I can't, I will get a hotel. But by the time I actually realized it, I think, Chris, you're the one that told me, you're like, did you get a hotel? And I was like, oh, crap. Yeah. I went in and there was nothing even close at that point. Most of the stuff that was still available was, in the higher, like $400 to $500 range, which I wasn't really excited about, to be honest. Maybe it was higher than that, actually, now that I say that. But it was pretty pricey. So I was like, well, I'll figure it out at some point. If I got to sleep in on a bench somewhere, I'll do that too. But that was kind of my overall experience. So outside of the hotel, everything really went well. Didn't have any problems, and I do feel like I am one of the lucky ones. But yeah, Kiz, I'll kick it over to you. I mean, how was your experience? What was that like for you?
So first off, I just want to follow up on what you said. I do not advise anyone to slum it at Celebration.
Agree.
Don't
I don't want to slum it. No, I guarantee I'll give you that.
We'll find something for you, Albert. We'll find it.
We'll find something. Okay.
I'll take out a Craigslist ad. That seems safe.
Sure.
Go ahead. Nobody knows what Craigslist is anymore. Anyway.
My experience was similar to what you had. Now the one thing that's different was I was not at home. I was in a hotel because I was at a convention where I had some presentations to do. Luckily, on the 6th, my schedule was clear, so I was able to really hone in and focus on getting tickets. I had a total of 5 devices. I had my tablet, I had my phone, which I kept on the data plan, and then I had a PC, a laptop, with 2 virtual machines running on it. Okay, so those are technically the 5 devices. The queue came through, and initially for like the first 2 or 3 minutes, the guys didn't move. I knew by that time the VIP was out of the question.
Yeah, exactly.
But what did happen was that I got a ping on the Discord. Some people that had gotten through like early, like they were in the top of the queue list, had already gone through the purchasing process, and they shared the link to the hotel site. So I actually went to the hotel site I got in the queue for the hotel, and I actually got in through through that queue in like 5 minutes.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I secured my hotel before I even secured tickets. Right, about maybe 5 minutes after that. So I guess 10 total minutes. My laptop itself, not the VMs running in it, but the laptop itself got in. I was able to secure a couple of 4-day tickets, and then also I got the jacket that everyone wanted. I think I had it in my cart. I just put it in my cart when you messaged me saying, "Hey, were you able to get the jacket?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got it." He goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, they don't have my size." And I think you told me I checked it. Yeah, they were gone.
Yeah.
But I
And
got the
you and I are
jacket.
not the same size. Let's just be clear.
No, yeah.
And I mean, just in height wise. I don't mean any other way, but in height wise, no.
And then I got the tracksuit, the 2-piece tracksuit. Those are the two. Yeah.
By the way, sorry, I want to pause you right there. So I threw down the gauntlet and challenged you guys to all buy the tracksuit and show up wearing it. Who committed to that? Joel, did you get one?
I'm gonna say no comment right now.
Oh, they were sold out. They were sold out apparently,
yeah,
right?
Chris
You
knows
couldn't get
where
one.
I live, so I gotta be careful.
Right.
But that's okay. You know what? That's okay. I'm gonna roll.
You're gonna rock that
I sure am.
suit, man. I guarantee you will.
I'm gonna roll into the first day of Celebration 2027 in that tracksuit. I don't care what the temperature is. I'm rolling up in that tracksuit, and then day 2, I'm gonna wear the jacket.
Okay. And I've seen your preference in shoes at times. So I know you've got some. You're probably gonna have some good Nikes to kind of to go with it. So
definitely,
you'll be rocking, man. You're good.
So that was my experience. I was able to get in and out. There was a situation where my tablet got into the queue maybe about 5 to 7 minutes after I finished checking out. And another friend of mine called me and said, "Hey, I'm having no luck." And I was like, "Hey, I'm in right now. What do you want?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "Hey, I want, a 4-day and screw the merch." So I was able to actually snag her a 4-day with her information. It wasn't on like my email or my credit card. She gave me all that information over the phone. But yeah, that one came in, and then after that, like almost immediately after that, a other my phone hit, and by the time my phone hit, the 4 days were gone. So that was my experience going through. I was extremely lucky. I had a buddy of mine who is also a big Star Wars fan. This was going to be his first celebration. He was in another hotel room. We were presenting at the same conference, and he missed out on 4-day. He was able to get individual day tickets for like him and his brother, but like his cousin and his wife wanted to go.
Yeah.
So they were still kind of debating what to do there. But yeah, it took him a good hour and a half to get in. And by that time, 4 days long gone.
Yeah.
So, that was my ticket buying experience. I was happy that I was able to help a friend of mine, and I was happy that I was able to secure tickets and secure that tracksuit that I had to have.
Yeah, it felt like I heard a lot of stories where folks were helping one another, and that's probably not unique. I think that's probably been the case, every celebration. But it's one of those it takes a village kind of thing. I mean, for everything from people securing tickets for multiple people, some people are securing hotels, other people are securing merch on one hand. So it's such a coordinated effort that it feels like it shouldn't have to be. And I get it's just the nature of things are the way they are right now. But maybe we can talk about some of the things that, if we could change anything or we could wave this proverbial magic wand to make things better. What are some of the things that we would come up with, and maybe even talk about some of the things that we might have seen at other conventions or other sales like this that have worked, and maybe things that Repop could implement at some point. But Joel, why don't you round us out? Tell us a little bit about your experience and what kind of tickets you got.
Yeah, so very very similar to both of you. Albert, you said you had a control center. I had an entire command center here. So I think it was something on the order of 13 devices. I have 2 Mac Minis here on my left. So those were both running. I had my personal laptop, my work laptop, my personal phone, my work phone, and my tablet. And then I had my girlfriend's work laptop, personal laptop, work phone, personal phone, and 2 additional tablets that we have here in the house.
Yeah.
So I was surrounded by stuff. I actually recruited my girlfriend to come help kind of keep an eye on some of the screens, and just point me in the right direction.
Yeah.
But on top of that, I deployed all of the tools and tips and tricks that we talked about in the first 2 episodes. So I was actually live on the phone with 2 of my buddies, who had very similar setups at their
Mhm.
houses.
Right.
So combined, between the 3 of us, we probably had 40 some odd devices
Yeah.
going. My buddy had his daughter's tablets going, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
So like Chris mentioned, when the clock struck and everything switched to the Walking Man, nothing moved for about 2 minutes.
Hmm.
In hindsight, what I realize is that's when the randomization was
Was
happening.
going
That's
on.
when all the things were moving. So the queue probably didn't start for 2 minutes.
Right.
That felt like an hour.
Mhm.
And then as I'm tracking all these different devices, about 3 minutes in, I look here to my left to this monitor right here, and the little man starts walking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I start to get a little excited. And he kind of takes 2 or 3 steps, pauses, and then starts running a little bit,
Yep.
pausing. So within, like I said, it took about 2 or 3 minutes for things to kickstart. Within another minute or two, which felt like another hour, I was into the queue. I was in, and I was a little bit shocked. And I quickly pivoted my whole body, staring at the screen, ignored everything else that was going on in my life.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
got in, and the VIPs were still there. So instantly, as we mentioned in previous episodes, I knew my exact game plan. I
Mhm.
didn't skip a beat. 4 VIPs in my cart for 4 days because I have my girlfriend and my in-laws, that are going to be joining for celebration as well. So I
Yep.
grabbed 4 days, added them to cart. I knew exactly what merch I wanted. Albert, I was able to get the jacket, so my apologies on there. We
Yeah.
will
That's
hunt it
right.
down for you at the celebration store.
Yep.
And then I grabbed each of the big pins, the logo pin and the 2 deluxe pins, and then I grabbed a lanyard. So I grabbed those in seconds. It was really just click, 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 click,
Hmm.
and I was at the checkout screen, auto filled everything. My credit card was ready. Checkout, got the approval, and all of that was secure. Before I even got the email, to Chris's point, someone had posted the hotel link in the Discord. So I quickly came back to this computer that had Discord pulled up, clicked that link, jumped in there. When I got in, it was so early they weren't running a queue, or if it did, I jumped to the front of the line.
Yeah.
Got in and had all the hotels available. Unfortunately, my top 5 options weren't even on the list.
Really?
So
So I know
all of the
you had went
hotels.
out there and kind of scoped things out ahead of time. You were saying that the hotels that you were like, oh, that's got to be it, or that's going to be one of the ones if it shows up on the list, I want to be a part of. None of those showed up on the list. Is that true?
None of those were ever a possibility or ever an option.
Wow.
So I had to go. I don't know if it was my 6th or 7th option, but again, I was very prepared.
Yeah.
Like I
Right.
looked
Right.
for my top ones. They weren't there. I instantly went to choice 6 or 7, whichever one I did see. I booked.
Hmm.
I booked those rooms, confirmed it, had it all set. I'm on cloud 9. I'm going crazy.
Oh yeah.
So after that point, kind of coming down, I reached out to my buddies that I was on the phone with. Obviously, we were chatting like, hey, this is what I secured. Got this. It turns out that we needed a little bit more merch. So one of my other friends that we were on the phone with got in, bought a 4-day, and bought a bunch of merch for them, because in my hurry to check out, I didn't buy any merch for them. So I got my jacket. They didn't get anything. So they bought a 4-day, and bought all the merch that they needed for the 2 of them. And yeah, after that, it was just a whirlwind. Information was flying all over the place. I'm trying to answer questions as a Discord mod, trying to keep everything under control. And it took about an hour for things to settle. At the end of that hour, I finally got to make a phone call that I really wanted to make, and I was excited to make. And I gave a call to my boy Chris. Chris, how did that call go?
It was an amazing call. It was a call that kind of allowed me to finally like relax and consider the ticket sale a success from our point of view. My guy Joel, he secured me a VIP. So
Nice.
I we're going again as a group, a VIP, and I'm eternally grateful for Joel for his efforts.
Yep. How did the other guys fare too? Like we had Rob on, we had Brian on as well. Were you able to get them VIP tickets, or how did they go?
No, unfortunately, they weren't able to secure. Some other friends in our group were able to get some. So I think about half of our group was able to secure VIP. Now that being said, I am in about 3 different distinct groups of folks. So there's our Star Cruiser group that I'm in with Chris on. There's my close group of friends. There's 3 of us that go together. We've been going to Celebration together since 2017. That's where the first 3 of my tickets went, and then the 4th went over to Chris. And then over on Discord, our mods also work together. And luckily, all of our mods were able to get their own tickets in differing ways. So overall, I would call it a success. There still are a few that are on the hunt for VIP and keeping their eyes out to see what options they'll have available.
Yeah. And I, this thing sold out, and maybe we can just kind of go there next. Cause this thing sold out in what, 2 hours? Less?
A lot. Yeah. So it's actually crazy. The statistics on that. So like I said, it took about 2 or 3 minutes for the queue to even start.
Yeah.
By minute number 5 or 6, all the VIPs were in carts.
That's
so
about
if you
right.
got in at minute 7, 8, 9, 10, like Chris did, the VIPs were already gone.
Yeah. That might've been when I got in, because I think I was out in about 9 minutes. And I will say this, when I saw that little guy move in that first couple minutes, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get VIP. I'm going to get VIP. This is moving way too fast. And by the time I got in, which was only like you said, 7 minutes in, gone, which I think was probably, that kind of happened, I think, if I'm not mistaken, at Japan, maybe not. Maybe in 2019 or 2021, I think that might have been the case as well. But either way,
it's typical with VIP for them to disappear within minutes.
So under 10.
That wasn't unexpected. Let's call it that.
Right. Yep.
What was unexpected, and we kind of hinted that it could happen, was at the 32-minute mark, 4 days were gone.
32 minutes, 4 days are gone.
32 minutes for 4 days to disappear, and then within a couple of hours, all the individuals were sold out.
Yes.
So it was a 100% sellout in less than, I want to call it, like 8 hours. Now that being said, there are a ton of folks that by the time they made it through the queue, 45 minutes through, 56 minutes through, they got into the site and a 4-day was sitting there. Or a VIP was sitting there. And if they were ready, as we told everybody to be, they were able to grab that, click add to cart, and that was secure for them until their checkout window expired. So I do have a lot of stories of people that randomly made it into the queue and a 4-day or a VIP was available after that, 5-minute mark or 32-minute mark on there. Yeah. But there are even more that made it in after those points of time that only saw individuals.
Yeah.
And then the Saturday, as typical, was the first
one to win.
Individual to sell out.
Yep.
And then Friday sold out. And then we saw Thursday and Sunday eventually sell out on there.
Yeah. It's just, and we had there's a lot of things that go into this, right? And I want to kind of segue now into that portion of it, of like, what were the contributing factors? We talked about on this, on the first 2 episodes that, this is the 50th anniversary. It's in Los Angeles. We've got a new movie coming out. We've got the George Lucas Museum opening up that same year. There were a lot of outside and internal factors that were contributing to the success of this. The venue wasn't maybe as large as, say, something like McCormick, right? So that's going to limit the number of people that can get tickets. There was just a lot of things into all that. And we can certainly talk about those if we need to. I think it's pretty obvious that there was a lot of just general interest in attending this particular one just in the 50th anniversary alone. The potential of having George Lucas show up during that celebration, walk out on stage, address the audience and say, thank you for 50 years. That alone for me is right up there with suddenly being surprised by the maestro himself and playing music, right? It's going to be on that level in terms of the hysteria. And I think people knew that going in. So that generates a lot of buzz. The problem, and I'll call it a problem because it is a problem, and I think they've acknowledged that it was a problem, was the amount of tickets that one individual could purchase. Now, I want us to pull back the curtain on the why, because I think what you were just talking about, Joel, and some of the experiences that all you guys had in these different groups, that was the spirit of why they allowed so many tickets to be purchased. What they either didn't, I'm not going to say they didn't know this was going to happen. I can't see how they wouldn't know this was going to happen. What really ratcheted up all of the pressure and the frustration and the backlash of all of this was that we have people that were going in who had no intent of going to Celebration, were buying 24-day tickets. And then immediately, I mean, within minutes, I think I checked eBay at about, it was maybe about 45 minutes after. And I didn't know that the 4 days had sold out at that point. I just was kind of, had a morbid curiosity, went out to eBay, and I was seeing the 4-day tickets were going for a minimum, like $1,100, I think is the cheapest that I saw there. And there was already VIPs posted on there for $4,000 or $5,000. And lots of them. Like, it was a crazy amount of tickets that were being posted on there. And so it was really kind of a scalper's paradise, in terms of like just the what they've opened up, what they allowed to happen, in the spirit of trying to allow people to buy tickets for other folks, for other individuals, knowing that maybe they were trying to get in. And I'm not trying to be an apologist by any means for Repop and the way the situation went, but maybe it was to get in front of the anticipation and the long queues and knowing that there was a lot of interest in this. And so they were trying to solve for that, but they ended up creating a whole different problem that's really left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Yeah, something in there went wrong. And I'm gonna peel back the curtain and go back in time a little bit, because over the past several celebrations, there's been some decent ticket limits that have been put out. As far back as I can remember, VIP has always been limited to 4.
Okay.
But I looked, and back in Chicago, you could buy up to 12 tickets. By the time we get to Japan in 2025, you could also buy up to 20 tickets, or I think that one might have been 16. But the spirit behind it is, say you have a family of 4, 4 days, 3 and 4 days sell out. Now you need to buy individual days. So you buy 4 Thursdays, 4 Fridays, 4 Saturdays, 4 Sundays, for you and your kids, and maybe you throw in an extra kids badge.
That's your 16 to 20 tickets right there.
And that's the spirit of it. Somewhere in that process, they remembered to check a box that said limit VIPs to 4, but they let the cart go wild.
Right.
On the 4 days.
With 4 days.
4 days. Yep.
And it's double-edged. And Albert, I've seen a lot of this over the past 2 weeks, both in the Discord, where we now have over 4,000 people that are chatting every day, in the Facebook groups that have over 100,000 people, and plenty of griping in there. But there's also thousands that are excited to have their tickets. So, it's a couple of factors that built in all together. Number one is the unprecedented amount of demand, and we've seen it celebration over celebration. More and more people want to go, and this one being the first one back in the U.S. After 5 years, like, there's a lot of hype.
Yeah,
and then everything else that you shared, like the chances of getting George to show up, to get Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, maybe John Williams shows up, and who knows, this might be the last chance that we get to see him on stage.
And they're on the front porch of Los Angeles. I mean, of Hollywood, right?
They're all right there.
Yeah.
So, the hype, the anticipation, the demand was higher than ever. That being said, there were plenty of bad actors in there.
Yep.
I would venture to say it's a ridiculously small minority that had a insanely high purchasing power. So every one bad actor could grab 20 tickets. So 20 bad actors, there goes 400 tickets.
It scales pretty quickly, for sure.
Very, very quickly. So it was a perfect storm. The sad reality is, even if we didn't have the bad actors, there would be tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people that would be disappointed, because there's a limit on how many tickets could be sold.
Yeah.
So it's really tough. And, you know, coming from the perspective from the three of us that we're lucky to get in and get through, mostly because we were very prepared and educated and informed on what to do to be best prepared. You know, we're a little bit biased, but it's not to say there are a lot of people out there that are very disappointed,
Yeah.
and tack on top of that disappointment the fact that tickets that you could have gotten are in the hands of people that never intended to use them. Yeah, it's a tough
It's a
pill to
tough pill to
swallow.
swallow. Yeah, for sure. I
Definitely.
mean,
Yep.
the and I think right. There is a ceiling in terms of who can actually go, just because of the number of tickets and number of people that they can actually sell to. I think if it were more equitable, I think people would be able to walk away and say, okay, you know what? I gave it my best shot. I had 10 devices. I did all this stuff, and it was just a random chance. And, I felt like I'm walking away from this, being fairly treated. And I think that's where a lot of people just are still sour about it, because I can't say that they were fairly treated. And again, I don't think Repop was intentionally trying to do this. I've seen, the conspiracy theories out there of them, partnering. And I mean, it's just kind of wacko. I mean, all kinds of stuff happens when people start having really bad experiences and negative experiences like that. But so I think that if it had it been more equitable, I think then, no shame in it. And I think it does take a bit of luck. I mean, even with all the preparedness, like we said, I feel lucky. I mean, I had 9 devices, right? And only one of those got through in 2 hours, and it did right away. But I mean, if that one hadn't gone through, I'd be in that same boat with a number of other people saying, look, I didn't get tickets, because there is a bit of luck that plays into it. Or
Mhm.
I don't know, I guess if you're Kenobi and his experience, there's no such thing as luck, but that is a part of it. But it's just, you kind of have to make your own, you have to put yourself in the best chance for that luck to happen. And that's kind of what we were trying to help out with in those first 2 shows. Chris, sorry, I know you wanted to chime in on something here.
No, it's this process of getting creative to be able to secure tickets, not just VIP, but any ticket. It's been like this since I call it we're in the era of celebration where they stopped numbering them, and the last one that was numbered was 6, which would happen in 2012. The one in 2015, they just started calling it Celebration, whatever city you're in. Since 2015, it's been a challenge to get tickets. 2015 was probably the least challenging, but you start with 2017, which was the 40th, and those tickets, they didn't sell out in a day, but they eventually did sell out. Um, when they moved it to Chicago, those 5 day, because remember Chicago was 5 days, they sold out in just over 90 minutes. So while it was, obviously what happened this last time was the quickest that the general 4 day, 5 day, 3 day, whatever you want to call it, sold out in about 30 minutes. I thought it was insane that they all sold out in about 90 minutes for Chicago. But as you could see, the demand, like Joel was saying, has increased, and there's only so many tickets that can be available to the public. So this process that we've all done, it's something that we have to do to try to ensure that we get tickets. Because I know that if I try to, if it was, if I was my 2015 self and just went in with my computer, I would have been SOL. So it's like it's the process. You have to be prepared for this event, whether that's fair or not. That's not for us to determine. It's not the fact that whether it's fair or not. It's the fact that you have to do something like that to give yourself the best chance to obtain tickets.
Mhm.
And that's just the way it is for this event.
So if you had to, I guess maybe let's talk about some of the things. I mean, what could they do? Right. I know there's a couple different options. I know we've been kind of brainstorming some things here, and it is limited. I'll be honest.
Right.
It's not like, if there were obvious, very feasible options, they probably would already be talking about implementing them, or they would have already been implemented in this past go around here. But I guess, what are some of the things you guys can think of that maybe could have either made the experience overall better or increase the chances for people to genuinely, sincerely buy tickets and not feel like they were, up against people or bots, scripts, or folks with, 5 credit cards and 30 devices working on a sweatshop trying to get these things in to cash in on eBay.
I'll chime in here, and then Joel, you can follow me up. I just as far as what could be done better, I really don't have an opinion. I subscribe to the fact that yes, we did have a couple of bad actors, but I subscribe to the fact the reason why it was so difficult this year is the demand. I think it's the 50th, and you talked about potentially this could be John's last public event. It could also be George Lucas's. It could also be Mark Hamill's. It could also be Harrison Ford. And me personally, I've gone through something like that with Carrie Fisher. And I think I might have told this story before, but in 2015, they were offering like a duo photo op with Fisher and Hamill, and I passed on it to use that money somewhere else. I said, you know what? I'll get it next time. There was no next time. So with people, I think like that, and I think a lot of people do think like that. So they're like, yes, this is the first celebration in the U.S. in 5 years. It's the 50th anniversary, probably the last time we're going to see as many as a surviving cast from the original trilogy. That this is probably the last time we'll see them on stage together, if that happens. The demand was just incredibly high. That's what I subscribe to. Now, how to make it better? I mean, if I subscribe to that theory, there's really nothing that could be done to make it better. The only thing that I would recommend is what we've been recommending this whole time, which is be prepared. Now, there have been some ideas that have been thrown out there in social media and discords and chats and whatnot. So, and what they're doing is they're comparing Celebration to other big Comic Cons or sci-fi expos or anime expos, and they have different, I guess, processes on how to get tickets. One thing is, hey, there's so and so Comic Con that requires you to pre-register that you want tickets. So there's that. That was a solution that's been thrown around sometimes.
So explain that. Pre-register. What do you mean? You actually go out to a website, you fill out a form, and then you get entered into some kind of a lotto system, or do you pre-purchase the tickets there and they give you a heads up that you got them or you didn't?
It's either a lotto system or you essentially create an account with them, and then when you go purchase, you match, so that, hey, as much as they can confirm you're a real person because you actually went in initially and registered. So there is that, but I'm sure the back end work to make something like that happen for Celebration is just enormous. So I don't see that as a viable option. The other option that has been thrown around, which I really don't like, but I mean, I was successful with this option when they did this, is ditch the randomness, first come, first serve. So essentially, once you hit that URL, depending on where you hit, that's your place in line. Not, hey, we're going to go into a waiting room and then everything's randomized.
That scares me, because that's Captain Chaos right there, because
exactly
that's the days of old where suddenly websites start they see themselves as being like denial of service attacks, and things start shutting down. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's why they move to the queue place. They start scattering these folks. Like, there's too many people on the highway. Let's get them offloaded, and then we'll figure out who we want to bring on to the highway. That's why we got into the situation that we're in right now. But I mean, I see your point. It's just that is maybe a fairer way to say it. It's like, hey, that is random. If you can get in, great. If you can't,
but I don't subscribe to that, because that's what ReedPop did. Like for 2015 and 2017, it was first come, first serve. And you talk about the seat of your pants. You're like, I'm sorry.
Was there blowback from people with that process?
Oh yeah, because
definitely,
the link doesn't make it out. Someone doesn't look at Instagram. Twitter makes it out first.
Yeah.
So there really isn't any kind of perfect system. Is the reality when you have hundreds of thousands of people trying to get tens of thousands of items on there. Someone's always going to get left out. But that being said, there are a couple of things that could potentially be done to smooth out the experience for everyone. The obvious one is better ticket limits. So if you were limited to 4 days, for example, then it'd be a lot easier for more people to get some tickets. Um, the other one that I've seen, so Albert, a great example is your 8 computers when you came back after 2 hours, all said more than an hour remaining, and that really doesn't give you any kind of semblance of where
Mhm.
you are in queue. Once you get to that 59-minute mark, all right, cool. Now I know kind of where I'm at, where I'm going to go. But more than an hour could be an hour and a half.
Right.
I heard of people waiting in queue for 5 to 8 hours only to finally get through and see that there's nothing there. So some things that I've seen implemented in other cons or like in Ticketmaster is instead of telling you more than an hour, give you your space in line because they obviously randomize the queue. You know how many people are in queue. What spot are you in?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in spot 863, you can track how quickly you're going to get down to one. If you're spot 180,000, hey, you know that there's a lot of people in front of you, and that it's going to be a wait, and then couple that with an estimated wait time of over an hour, then at least you know a little bit more information. You know a
Right.
little bit better about your chances. And then the other piece, which I was a little bit surprised on here, is that sometimes the queue system has the ability to provide updates for you as you go along. So it'll refresh and say, "Hey, this item sold out," or "This item is close to being sold out." Um, and instead, what ended up happening is twofold. Number one, as I mentioned, some people got lucky, and it's because someone had a 4-day in their cart and their credit card got declined, or they had a 4-day in their cart and they changed their mind for some crazy reason,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then that becomes available at the end of their timer and drops back into queue. Having the ability to kind of inform all of us like how that process is coming along instead of waiting for a complete and true sellout, which for example for a VIP, that last final VIP is sitting in like 8 people's carts, everyone's fighting to get it, and one person finally gets lucky. Reedpop doesn't announce a sellout until they're physically sold out. So
Yeah.
I think it was about 40 some odd minutes before they announced the sellout of VIP, and it was probably close to 2 hours before they announced the sellout of 4 days, when in fact we knew that, all or at least most of them were out a lot sooner. And they could have given folks an update on that. Like, hey,
Yeah.
VIPs are close to being sold out, 4 days are almost sold out. So while you're sitting in queue, when you finally make it through, you're not surprised as to what you find
Mhm.
available. So those are a few things. There's some other technology things. Chris mentioned it. New York Comic Con uses a fan verified system where you need to go in order to participate in the general sale, you need to have a verified account, meaning you've done some sort of verification. They know that you're a little bit more of a real person. It helps to limit some of the botting and some of the other things that people speculate are going on.
Yeah.
San Diego Comic Con, you actually attach your ticket to a name, and that's there and that's stuck. So if you're buying 3 tickets, you need to know the 3 people that are going, and if those people get through on their own, well, they already have a ticket. They can't buy more. So that there are technology ways to kind of help out, um, but again, there is no perfect system.
No, I get that.
Um,
I mean, the other aspect of this, and I saw this feedback on social media. We had people that were waiting in queues for, like you said, hours, and there was when Repop sold out, they were all too quick to post on social media. Success celebration sold out. Thank you to the most wonderful fans in the world. And yet you have all these people in queues. You have tickets already being posted on eBay. And that feels like it's a big, kind of slap in the face for a lot of people that they would go through and do all that. And I get why they're doing that. And I think, and this is a slight pushback. It's more of like a little nudge, not necessarily a push on the demand was high. I get that demand was high. I totally understand that it was definitely high. We've talked about the reasons why demand was high, but you can't use that as an excuse as to why you didn't get tickets when they were selling 20 tickets at a time, right? That is the elephant. That is the bantha in the room, and they have to address that. Maybe they don't, but that is the talking point that everybody's walking away with, because you're regardless, unless they're going to show anybody proof or data that says that was the number one factor, the most contributive factor to why you couldn't get tickets, that is always going to be in the back of their minds. Scalpers came in, they bought 20 at a time, and stuff was on eBay. You already announced it. I was in queue for 3-4 hours and never got through. And there are so many people out there that have this same kind of horror story. Until if that didn't exist, then I would say all of this is probably palatable. You can accept it and move on. But I think that's why we're continuing to see the feedback. But I do want to just say one other thing too about, like, if as far as solutions go, is Celebration just at a point where places like McCormick is like that's now, it's over time they've had to increase the venues, right? Am I wrong? I mean, they started off small, they've gotten a little bit larger, but are we just at a point now where we're just limited to like 3 or 4 locations? And guys, that's all we can do, because we want to make sure that, because they're trying to grow the franchise, right? Make no doubt about it. That's what Disney wants to do. That's why they've broadened their horizons. They try to bring in new people and bring in all this new blood into the franchise. And with that come more people that want to go to Celebration. So are we just at a point where we have to go to venues that are crazy large in order to accommodate more people and sell more tickets?
We can get there. And we absolutely should. For the 50th, I think there's a reason that Lucasfilm decided to do it at LA. In my heart, I feel like it was their decision, not Reed Pop's choice of venue. But we'll see next time on what kind of location they find that's bigger. But that being said, are there even venues out there that are much larger, to be honest? There are venues that could probably hold an extra 10, 20,000 people.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about, again, 200,000 people that are upset,
right? As a percentage, it's not much.
that get taken care of. So I try to balance that in my head. And again, this is completely coming from a biased point of view, because I was one of the lucky ones. I'd have a very different perspective if I wasn't. There are larger venues. We'll see where it goes next. But I also wonder, when a venue gets too large, what's the give and take? Do you have the same type of experience? Is it too many people to do all the different things that are going on? If you have this huge venue and all of a sudden we go from having 50,000 daily attendees to 200,000 daily attendees, but you still have an arena that can hold 15,000 people for the stages, like, are you disappointing more than you're making happy? So it's very much a double-edged sword.
I think about so just real quick on that note, you think about Chris, and you can relate to this as well. You think about ACL, Austin City Limits here, right? It's a big annual music fest. When I was growing up, it was one weekend, and it was large. It was very successful still, but over the years, it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they're like, okay, this is too much. Like, tickets are selling out. Like, it was almost the same situation. I can think back 10 years ago. They were selling out so fast. A lot of scalpers, people were really pissed off. Great bands were showing up. They really wanted to be a part of that and have that experience. And so their solution, right or wrong, I don't even know if this is the right thing if it turned out to be that successful, because I would say in some ways it is, because they've done it. They had to split that up. You have ACL weekend 1, and now you have ACL weekend 2. Same bands for the most part. I think sometimes they kind of bob in and out depending on their schedule and availability. But it was the solution that they came up with to offer more people the opportunity to partake in ACL. And what it turned into was that you had very unique experiences. Certain playlists suddenly were played on weekend 1, or they'd play certain songs, or maybe a special guest would come out weekend 1, and everybody would talk about that. And then weekend 2, they wouldn't get that, but they would get something else, right? There was this kind of surprise. And so, I mean, is that, it's probably wishful thinking, but would that solve anything? I know it's double the effort, and I get it. You would have to have, double everything to kind of mimic and mirror that into, but that might be a way to bring more people to the barn, if you will, to partake in it.
So I'll be honest with you. I think that if they did that, it might help this particular situation, because there may be a good number of people that say, hey, one weekend is good for me. But someone like me, and probably someone like Joel, will have to be at both.
You're going to have both.
There's no question. I'll give you a perfect example. Mean, it's now been 15 years since we had Star Wars weekends. at Walt Disney World. And back then, it was the best thing that we had in between celebrations. And Disney World at Hollywood Studios would host us for 6 weekends over the course of the summer. Cool. So that's 6 times that you could go do this. Yes, they had different guest stars that came in throughout the different weekends. They slightly mixed things up. But I can tell you, the last Star Wars weekends, I went
Yeah.
to 4 of them. So 4 out of the 6 weeks, I made the trip up to Orlando because
Wow.
that's the kind of fiend I am.
Mhm.
So yes, it will attract and give the ability to do more. I suspect that there'll be a good chunk of folks that are just going to want to do both.
Right.
And unless they find a way to limit that, it solves some problems. I think it creates a lot of others.
Yeah, I don't know. I
So
mean,
it's
I'm thinking
yeah.
financially, I couldn't swing 2 weekends, much less the work time that I'd have to take off for that to happen, unless it's in our backyard. Like if they came to Austin or came somewhere to Texas, okay, that's totally feasible and doable. But I think you got people that would go for both weekends, are either of the elite, meaning financially secure, or willing to, are still in a small percentage of people that love Star Wars enough to think about doing that, because my heart's all in on Star Wars. I mean, you do this show every week. I wouldn't do 2 weekends in a row. I don't care how much I love Star Wars. There's no way you're going to get me to fork out that much money to go do Star Wars. I love it to death, but I don't love it that much.
So let,
financially
let me
possible.
let me fill you in on something. There is a thing called fear of missing out. Okay.
So
I
that's
have
yeah.
I've been to every stateside celebration. So to think that I was at risk to not be able to go to this next one, the 50th, was a real fear for me. And I'm really grateful that, I had, Joel had my back, a lot of other people had my back, and then I was able to actually have some success on my own. Uh, but again, I've been to every stateside celebration, and God willing, I'm going to make the next one. I had just bypassed all of the international ones because initially the international ones didn't capture me, right? That all changed in 2023 with the London celebration. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to check out a live stream. I'm going to check out like the photos and the videos that my friends have posted. It looked like they had an amazing time. And I don't think I ever had FOMO for anything like that in my life. Um, so now I'm not missing, if I'm able and I'm financially able to go to any celebration, no matter where it is in the world, I'm going to do it. But what I'm trying to get at is like you mentioned, if it's similar to ACL weekend 1 and 2, like some of the acts are different. Some other acts bring in guest stars and they're different on each weekends. If you care enough, you will get that FOMO and you'll be like, yes, I want to see, Charlie XCX who might bring out Mariah Carey weekend 1 and Charlie XCX who might bring out Britney Spears weekend 2. I don't want to miss that. So I'm going to both. You know, that is
I hear you, but what
yeah,
I'm
that is
saying is,
something real.
I think you like, what's the larger percentage though, realistically? I mean, I know, take the biasness off, but what's the larger percentage? Is it you that would do that, or the general populace or the public that's just coming into Star Wars? Because there's a lot of people, and I know I feel like I'm just advocating for everybody that didn't get in, and maybe I am, because I feel horrible for some of those folks. And I feel, like a survivor of war.
Survivor's guilt.
Survivor's guilt is honestly what I have, right? And that comes from my Catholic background. But anyways, I feel like there's probably more people that this would open up the doors to, and a greater percentage than the smaller 10%, 1%, whatever it is for folks. Because I get it. I know there are people like you guys out there. I think you guys are the unicorns. You guys are the exceptions. There might be a lot of you and you guys hang out in close circles, but that's not the general public. I don't think that's the general populace of who goes to Celebration, who wants to attend Celebration. I can't tell you how many times, and I know you guys are probably closer to it because of the Discord server, or maybe that's the group that's the closest. But when you look at people talking about Celebration, there are so many folks that don't even go to any celebrations because it's just not financially, they're not financially capable to do it.
It's financially difficult. With
Work
the tricky,
time.
the tricky thing about back-to-back weekends is when you have these destination trips, there are so many folks that are already building a vacation around it. that, because they get to go to LA and get to go to Southern California, they're going to take the opportunity to go to the George Lucas Museum. They're going to take the opportunity to take a day at Disneyland down there. If they're financially capable, I see them sticking around for an extra 3 or 4 days to be able to tack on the next weekend. So I don't know what the percentages are. I'd say at best it's maybe 50-50. Having experienced so much at Celebration and running into so many fans that are hardcore. A lot of these fans that are in some of the fan groups like the 501st, the Rebel Legion, like they show up in force. They'll find a way. So it could be 60-40, it could be 70-30, it might be as close as 50-50. To your point, it would allow more attendees to go. I just don't know if it's feasible for Lucasfilm, for ReedPop to pull that off at the same venue.
No, I get it.
Yeah,
we're
it'd be like asking,
spitballing.
it'd be like saying to do San Diego Comic-Con 2 weekends. That's easily been the most popular con in the world for years now. And
how many people do
I
they have
don't
go
think
to that?
that's,
I don't know. Like, what is the attendance? Do you guys know?
it's like over 100,000 people,
Over
right,
100,
Joel?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like twice the size of Celebration.
Wow. Yeah,
It's hard to capture because for most of these conventions, they only capture daily attendance, and then they multiply that across each day. What you don't know is how many of those attendees attended multiple days. So it's hard to say. The official numbers for San Diego say about 135,000
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
attendees.
135,000. Wow. Yeah. Well, so okay. So I know again we're just talking hypotheticals here and trying to throw stuff on the wall and see what sticks, and maybe Repop listens to us, maybe they don't. They're not going to at the end of the day. But so I guess let's maybe talk about, okay, we've talked about the experience, and for anybody now that is still wanting to go, still wants to go out and buy tickets, what are their options? I was going out on eBay just now. I don't see any tickets, which is weird. Maybe my search results are wrong or something else.
No, there's a very good reason for that, and
Yeah.
I wanted to bring this up because you asked earlier that has ReedPop worked in good faith, or did they do this in bad faith?
Mhm.
One of the things that has come throughout social media and been very loud in Reddit and some of the other locations is what some of the fan discourse with ReedPop directly has been. And ReedPop has come out and said a couple of things. Number one, they acknowledged that the ticket limits were probably not set correctly. Did they admit wrongdoing? They didn't go that so far, but they did say that they could do better. They also said that they have gone out and they are actively looking and tracking any bad actors. So anyone that they could see was obviously circumventing any systems or buying too much, that they're revoking and voiding tickets. They're also going after scalpers. So the specific reason that you don't see any ticket sales on eBay is because those ticket sales were brought down. And that was on eBay, on Vivid Seats, and on a couple of other sites where they have not only ReedPop, but also fans have actively been going after those ticket sales because they're not legal by any sense of the word, because ReedPop doesn't allow for resale, and it also voids the terms of service for those individual platforms. And I'll get into a little bit more on that to answer your questions on what options folks have.
Yeah, because when you say that, the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, well, then it sounds like, based on just the bylaws or the terms of agreement, they're going to be recuperating a lot of these tickets. So what happens to them?
They could. So there's a couple of pieces on there. In the past, when ReedPop has recuperated a lot of tickets, and this happened for Anaheim because of COVID, where tickets were returned. This happened with London, where some tickets were recuperated. ReedPop has had a secondary sale where they launch some additional tickets, and it's a very small bank of tickets, but they make them available, they sell through, and that's it. It's going to lead to a lot more chaos and a lot more upset people with false hope. So we don't know if they'll do that again. In the past, ReedPop has partnered with a third party to allow for legitimate repurchasing of tickets. Now that the company that they used for Anaheim and London was a company called Light, and they have since gone out of business.
That was
So
LYTE, yeah.
LYTE, yeah. So no idea if they find another partner to work with to provide a safe and legal avenue to pick up some of these tickets. Or third, what we've heard from some customer service representatives from ReadPop is that ReadPop is actively or has been actively taking a wait list of folks that had bad experiences or that are interested in tickets. And there's a possibility that ReadPop directly works with this wait list to go ahead and backfill any of these tickets that they recuperated. So the question becomes, hey, have they actually canceled any tickets? I can confidently say yes. I know of specific individuals that have reached out to me to say, hey, my tickets got canceled. What options do I have? And I've had some very tough discussions with them like, hey, what did you do? What happened? Oh, you bought multiples? You're SOL. Have a nice day. There's nothing that you can do. You
Yeah.
violated ReadPop's terms of conditions. There's others that had tickets revoked that are trying to fight ReadPop on that. We'll see what happens. But I do know of 4 days and of VIPs that have gotten voided and refunded to certain individuals that were some bad actors
Well,
on there.
so I don't want you to, I'm not putting you on the spot because you may or may not know the answer to this, but so how do they get around this idea that, okay, the spirit was that I'm going to buy 4-day passes and I'm going to give them to my friends or I'm going to sell them to my friends? Is it the selling piece that's prohibited? Because if what you're saying is true, then if somebody legitimately bought 20 tickets and they bought them for other people or to give them to friends and they were going to get paid back, how do they distinguish between what's legit and what's not? That's where that gets a little hairy.
That's peeking behind the curtain, and that I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. No, that's
But
fair. That's fair.
let's say you're on eBay, and an eBay profile, Albert M. Padilla, is on there selling some VIPs for a profit, and they see that and they cross-check that with their database of who purchased tickets, and
Yeah.
they can tie you back to that ticket purchase. They'll go ahead and get you that way.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of ways that ReadPop has. I recently launched some ticket purchasing and getting a peek behind the hood of what data I have access to. Like, it would be very easy for me to see anyone that made multiple purchases or use the same email or has too many tickets in their account. So if ReadPop did a real quick search and said, which accounts have more than 4 VIPs on them, and someone shows up with 6, well, something nefarious happened.
Yeah.
There.
Exactly.
And it's very easy for them to say, check, all 6 of those are now gone. Or if someone has more than 20 4 days in their account, or the same name, Albert Padilla at Gmail, Albert Padilla 1 at Gmail, both have purchases. There are things that they can do to tie all this back together. And then you start throwing in things like shipping addresses and phone numbers and all these different data points for ReadPop to use. Like, who knows how they could tie
Build
all
a
of this
case.
back.
Yeah.
And build a case for it. And I have seen cancellations dating all the way back to London for people that
Violated.
people that violated ReadPop's terms of service when it came to buying tickets. So it's definitely happened. So for those that are out there that are upset about scalping, ReadPop is actively doing something to try to catch those people and get them. Are they going to find them all? Probably not. But they definitely are going to get some on there.
Okay, so what should they be doing? Should we be sending an email saying,
I mean,
"Hey, help me"?
You can reach out to ReadPop and give your story. I honestly don't know what's going on with this wait list. I haven't heard confirmation of anybody buying from or getting tickets from this wait list yet, so not sure what's going on with that.
Yeah.
So you have a couple of options, and I think all of them are going to require some patience. Because option number 1 is you wait for something official from ReadPop. Do they have a secondary sale? Do they partner with a third party that puts up tickets for sale? Do they partner with a third party that offers some kind of interchange to allow for a proper transfer of tickets? So you can wait for that to happen. We don't know if that's going to happen, so that's a risk. Option number 2 is unfortunately to go out to the secondary market. We're all upset about it, but if you're left not holding a ticket and you really want one, that might be the place to get one. Now, I will offer this warning to everyone and be very transparent. It doesn't matter what system you use right now, unless you write your own contract and get lawyers involved. There is no proper buyer protection that's going to protect you from today all the way to next April. The reason for that is that eBay's terms of conditions for their buyer protection is that they only protect you for 30 days from the date of delivery. And eBay's pre-sale conditions is that you can only pre-sale something up to 30 to 40 business days, which is 6 to 8 weeks in advance.
Okay.
So that gives you a maximum window of 90 days of coverage. We're obviously way outside of that.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to wait until next February and buy something on eBay, you could be protected under their buyer's protection.
So that feels like a last resort kind of thing in my head.
That's definitely a last resort. Well, I'll give you another last resort on there that's a little bit more risky. The second common place to process these transactions, let's call it, is through PayPal. PayPal's buyer protection through goods and services only offers 180 days or about 6 months of protection. So you'd have to wait until about October to run a transaction through there to be properly protected with a sale like that. Your final ditch effort, and this happens at every convention I've ever been to, this happens at every sporting event or concert I've been to, is to show up to the convention center, walk up, and there's going to be someone standing outside selling tickets.
Especially in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Especially in Los Angeles. Yep.
Some of these folks that bought the 20s with the intent to resale, they have deep pockets and they're going to wait until day of. And on that Thursday, they're going to be standing out front of the convention center. Or that Wednesday, they're going to be standing out saying, "Hey, I got a 4-day. Do you want to buy this?" And we could debate this ad nauseum, but it is the reality of what we're going to see. So if you're willing to take that risk to make your way all the way to LA, secure a hotel and somewhere to stay, unless you want to be like Albert and just grab a bench somewhere.
Yep.
Then you could potentially do that.
Right.
Don't necessarily endorse any of those. So your miles may vary as you go through. We'll see how ReedPop reacts over the next several weeks and months. The unfortunate reality is that, based on all the conversations I've had over the past 2 weeks, the vast, vast, vast majority of tickets went to the hands of true fans that bought 2 tickets, that bought 3, maybe they bought 6 for their friends. And that's who is going to be showing up. It's going to be a very small minority of tickets that, if they ever become available, do become available, and it's going to be a feeding ground if those become up for sale and people go after them.
Yeah, I would, and this is pure conjecture on my part, because like you said, we don't have a lot of details. We have no details on how this process is going to go down. But it feels like the prudent thing would be to give everybody a heads up of, here's what we plan on doing. Here's when you can expect this to go down. I don't suspect this is going to be a surprise announcement like tomorrow. Suddenly ReedPop just throws up a bunch of tickets and says, "Hey, go get them." First come, first serve kind of thing. That would be an injustice to, especially, it'd be a lot of damage control that they've already had to deal with here. So whatever happens, I suspect they're going to take some time and explain it, and they'll give you a date of when this is all going to go down. If it were me, I would be emailing them. Like, there's no harm. And I think it's totally worth the investment to send a quick email to their customer service and say, "Hey, I was here. Here's who I am. I waited in line. I was interested in purchasing a 4-day ticket just for myself, or 2, one for me, one for whoever it is. I waited in the queue. I was in there for about 3-4 hours. I never got through," whatever your experience was. And if you happen to resell tickets, or tickets become available again, please consider me, right? Consider me as someone that wants to be a part of whatever that program is going to look like. That seems like a low effort to get with a big gain, should they go back and actually go and start looking through those emails, or trying to put a list together of people they want to, open those up to. I would do it. Like, it feels like a no-brainer in my head. But
Yeah,
beyond
no,
that,
I can share. I have a friend who made it through the queue, was able to get in, grab two VIPs, and put them in their cart, and the whole system just crashed. It wouldn't let him check out, wouldn't let him do anything, and just completely crapped out. They were they went from super high of excited to super low of I ended up with nothing, because by the
Mhm.
time it reset their queue and they got through again, there was nothing left.
ouch.
Um,
Yeah.
and they reached out to Repop, told them the exact story, and Repop said, "Hey, we hear you. We're working on it. We'll put you on a wait list."
Mhm.
And now they're just waiting to see what happens with said wait list. Is it
Right.
is it a legitimate wait list? Maybe.
I mean,
Is it a
with
wait
something
list
like
of
that, yeah. I mean, like there's
yeah,
probably logs that they could go back and verify that. Oh yeah, this
yeah,
person did come
yeah.
through, right? So
Now the
some of
question
those,
is,
yeah,
is that wait list 3,000 people and he's 2,000th in line, and
right.
only the first 1,000 will get a ticket?
Yep.
We just don't know. We can't peek behind that curtain unless Reed Pop shares a lot more. And here's the unfortunate truth about these events: um, once they sell out, that's really the goal for Reed Pop and for the company, is to get to that sellout. And once they get there, they're good. Any backlash is pure PR, and they're going to address it, and they have, as we've mentioned, they're doing their due diligence. But at the end of the day, they accomplished their goal of selling out this event, and they did it in unprecedented time.
Oh yeah. I mean, that like I said, that was indicative and clear based on their tweets, which they got a lot of heat for posting. But I get it; they're a business, and that was the goal. So mission accomplished. Throw up the banners, literally. All right. Well, I mean, those are the options, and unfortunately, there aren't any others. Like it is going to be very limited in terms of how you get tickets at this point. Some of them have more risk. I think it's going to be a matter of how risk tolerant you are with
Mhm.
purchasing some of these tickets. Maybe I've seen some good people out there that said I've got an extra one, and or hey, my plans change, and they sell them at. I've heard stories of people selling them at face value and things
Yeah,
like that. But you just
Oh,
gotta
yeah,
you
it
gotta get
happens all the time.
join
Yeah.
the
yeah.
Discord server. Do you guys? So I don't. Again, I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but is there a space there in the Discord server for like people that are looking for tickets that they could just post and say, "Hey, keep me in mind," kind of thing?
There's constantly conversations about stuff. There's people that are in search of tickets, and there's others that might have them. One thing that will happen, and this happens at every event when you sell tickets a year in advance, is that life happens.
Oh
So
yeah,
as we
yeah, yeah,
approach April, things are going to happen. People get a brand new job, and can no longer travel. People lose their job, and now no longer have the vacation time to go. People can get injured. People can get pregnant, have a kid. All sorts of things can happen that will lead to individuals not being able to go, and then looking to move their tickets over to someone.
yeah,
Hopefully by then we have some kind of transfer system in place. Some of those folks are going to do right, and just sell it at face value or slightly above that to kind of count for inflation and the money that they've paid on it. Some others might look to make a quick buck on it. All of these are, potentially legitimate, but if Repop doesn't put a third party solution in place for them to offload and move these tickets, then you have to resort to using some of these other methods
yeah,
that we talked about. But at that point in time, if we make it to next February, next March, you have some of these tools that will offer and protect the buyer during that purchase. So the other best practice out there is to become a member of all of these communities. I can't tell you the number of Star Wars Celebration Facebook groups that I'm part
Right.
of. I'm part of the VCN network that has over 100,000 people. I'm part of the Celebration VIP group that has a couple of thousands that have been past VIPs. Small little local California Celebration group. Part of all of these so that I can keep an eye on everything that's going on. Become a member of it all. The Discord is also a great community to jump into, and then just do your due diligence if that time comes around. Make sure that you're protected, in the way that you sell. Unfortunately, already this year, I've heard of people sending Zelle payments off for 4 days and for VIPs, and the seller saying, "Oh no, I didn't get the payment," and they send another
Oh,
Zelle payment,
mm,
and they're out tons of money. Like, scammers are going to scam.
Mhm.
Um, so make sure to protect yourself. If you're working with an individual that you're just not quite sure about, ask that community. The communities know each other. I on the Discord, we got 4,000 people. There's a couple of hundred people that I know personally. There's 10 of them that slept at my house 2 weeks ago, Chris being one of them,
Right.
that I know super personally. So there's people that could vouch for different folks potentially, but just do your due diligence. But keep your eyes open
mhm.
and be in as many communities as you can, because when those opportunities come, it's going to be like vultures. People are going to be all over them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the one thing that I could offer, the one bit of advice is right now in this moment, for those that are still trying to obtain tickets that unfortunately were not able to get any in the initial ticket sale, be patient. I know it's human nature to try to get a quick fix on something that you felt that you were wronged. Um, but I encourage everyone, and I really do hope that if you were one of the ones that were in queue for hours and didn't get anything, or especially if you're one that you got through legitimately, you had something legitimately in your cart, and then like Joel said, I heard these stories too, where the site just crashed and it put them all the way at the beginning of the queue, or there was I heard several other issues where they got into the cart, the screen flashed, the site flashed and said, "Oh, this ID has already been through the queue. You can't go through again," and it threw them back to the beginning of the queue. Um, so I know there was a lot of heartache. I really hope that there is a way that you can get a ticket, but be patient. I understand, everyone's, feeling a little hurt right now, but don't make a bad decision, whether it's going and buying a ticket off a third party site and not being under any type of protection, which you don't want to be, or going out and flaming Reed Pop or sending nasty emails every single day. They're not going to want to help you. So yes, vent to your friends, your family, to the community, where I'll listen to you. I know the community will listen to you, but don't make a decision right now in regards to ticket. Be patient. Let some of this process happen. And I hope as we get closer to the end of the year, the beginning of the new year, you'll have an opportunity to get that ticket that you missed out on when they went on sale. So just be patient. Patience is a virtue. The Jedi preach patience.
Kenobi
Just
says
have
it in Empire.
exactly. Just be patient, and hopefully, I hope there a good something good will happen for you to be able to obtain that ticket, even if it's a day. I would love to see everyone out there that wants to be at Celebration. I want to see them at Celebration. So just be patient.
Yeah. Yeah. And be hopeful because, rebellions were
They're
built on
built
hope.
on hope.
Yeah.
Reveal on hope. Yep.
All right, guys. Anything else that we need to add? I guess maybe let's just quickly talk about what's next. So you got tickets, whether you got tickets or you didn't. Let's talk about people that have tickets. What should they be thinking about next in terms of just planning? I know it's probably early to take any actionable items here, but what should they be thinking about as far as what's coming up on the horizon next in the whole process?
Yeah, I think right now, there's only really two things that you should be focused on, which is your hotel. Where are you
Okay.
going to stay?
No
And
idea.
then two, how are you going to get there? I think those are the two big ones, because the longer you wait, the more expensive things are going to come or are going to become. So if you don't yet have accommodations, go out there, take a look. The hotel block is completely sold. There is a Connection Housing does have a third party site where they do still have some availability. They're quite pricey. There is some availability directly through the hotels that are close by, quite pricey. So some of your better options are going to be a little bit further away. But it's Los Angeles. There's plenty of hotels in the greater part of LA, so you might need to plan around it a little bit, but you can find some accommodations. You also have consolidators like Booking.com, Expedia, Travelocity, all of those that you can check to see what options they have. Um, there are some folks out there that are booking through Airbnb and through VRBO. Um, be careful with those as you book them, especially if you find one that has a rate that's a little bit hard to believe. Because some of the cheaper Airbnbs are notorious about realizing like, oh, this is a big weekend. I priced this too low. All of a sudden, their air conditioning goes out.
Yeah.
They need to go under refurb. They cancel your reservation,
Cancel
and
your
then a couple weeks
reservation.
later, they rebook. They repost it at a higher price. So
Yeah.
careful with those. But your air travel is key. I think booking the rest of your trip, as I mentioned earlier, Celebration for a lot of people is a destination location. You're going there. This might be the first time many people get to Los Angeles. So figure out what else you want to do. Do you want to go tour around LA? Do you want to hit some of the sightseeing things? Do you want to do that before or after Celebration? Do you want to make it down to Disney? Hey, that's an hour away. So plan for that. So I think now is the time to kind of figure out those pieces. And then after that, we're probably seeing a pretty massive lull. We're going to go over the next couple of months really not seeing or hearing too much. We might get trickles here and there, maybe some
Announcements
guest
of who's going to be.
announcements.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but really things aren't going to kick off again until early next year, when we get those final guest announcements, where we start hearing about panels. Between now and then, you might start hearing about some offsites. So a good example, Mosh Isley was already announced. That's going to be happening in LA, I believe. Is it Friday night, Chris, that Mosh is happening?
Friday, yeah. Mosh is happening Friday. Then there's
Yeah.
also the Boonta Eve thing that VCN throws.
Yep. So VCN has a couple of events they've already announced. Tickets aren't on sale yet. They'll do that later this year. So keep an eye out for all of these other activities to fill your time around Celebration, because there's way too much to do. We talked about it before. There's more to do than you could ever possibly get around to doing. But if there's some things that you specifically want to do, then be on the lookout so that you know and you can subscribe to all of those. Because, like, for example, Mosh Isley, I'm going to be there Friday night. So I'm subscribed to their Instagram, to their Twitter. I'm in their Discord, so that, when they finally announce the ticket sale date, I can take time off around that and make sure that I secure my tickets. But that's true of everything else. So that's really it. Get your travel plan set, and then some patience. And then the hype will continue to build over the next year.
Yeah, and I think what we'll do, at least for this series of episodes, is we may take a break as well, unless there's just something. Maybe we come back and talk about the new process if they do offer tickets up again. But I think at some point I would like to spend more time talking about flights and where to come in for anybody that's doing their own personal travel, that kind of thing. And then really it would be nice to have a collection of different events so people kind of know what to do as like the offsite type things. That would be really cool to kind of throw that out there, and we can maybe even open it up for people to solicit it, and we can add it to the list of things and that sort of thing. So it may be a little while before we get any more news here, but hopefully if you didn't get tickets, you will. And like you said, like we've said many times, it's just going to come down to being patient and waiting for your time to come, praying and doing all the things that you need to do. So
I do want to add one thing. There is an offsite Celebration event that already has tickets on sale, and that is the Discord party. So Joel, do you want to?
Yeah, I could share a little bit about that. So it all started back in Japan. When we were sitting there in the closing ceremonies and they announced that the next Celebration would be in LA. Obviously, we all got really excited because it's coming back to the US. But the Discord mods, we got to talking real quick because there's something really unique in LA. There's the Scum and Villainy Cantina, which is very inspired by the Mos Eisley Cantina. And we were like, wouldn't this be a really cool place to throw our pre-celebration meetup or throw a party? So sitting down in Japan, we reached out to Scum and Villainy to say, hey, we want to throw a party at your location. And that started off the conversation on there. And as we met with Scum and Villaini's leadership, we found out that they're actually planning on opening up a new location, Scum and Villainy Cantina Rendezvous in Burbank sometime later this year. And it's going to be a larger venue. It's going to be a better venue, more exciting. So we negotiated with them and worked it out. And we're actually throwing a party the night before celebration starts. So Wednesday night at Scum and Villainy Rendezvous in Burbank. And we had 250 tickets available. And we just posted those on Saturday for sale. We've already sold 197. So there's only 50 tickets left, 54 to be exact. And it's going to be one of the premier parties. We're really excited about it. You can join the Discord, take a look. We have announcements all about it. We have constant reminders for it. But yeah, that was a labor of love. We've been working on it for months and happy to finally get those tickets announced and sold for what's going to be an amazing party where, you can look at the details on the Discord for what you get. There's some really good benefits that come along with the ticket, some of which being some amazing swag that we're already in the process of making.
That's awesome, man. And I'll put sorry, Joel, I'm going to cover your face up again, but I have the QR code for anybody that's watching and wants to scan the QR code. You can scan it there or just head out to that. I think the link that I posted, and maybe I could get your help after the show. The links that I have access to, they all expire. So I need an infinite link if you guys are comfortable with that, so I can just post it up. We can keep it up. Otherwise, I did update this one today. So if you're watching Celebration 1 or 2, the first 2 episodes, those links have expired. They're no longer valid. So this one's good, at least for now. And then we'll see if we can get maybe one that's that never expires that we can kind of throw up. But please join the Discord if you're not a part of that already. I don't know, 4,000 people, I think, is what your number is up to now in terms of.
We are currently at almost 4,300.
4,300 folks already there.
We're chugging along. We've picked up almost 500 in the past 6 weeks.
And I have a feeling it's going to accelerate as we get closer too. So
absolutely.
But congratulations. That sounds great. I mean, it's huge success and the party sounds amazing. I need to go get a ticket. I had no idea that was even going on. So I will go pick up a ticket myself if there's some available. Okay. I think that's going to do it. I think we'll end it there. And, again, we'll come back and maybe do another one of these episodes as more news comes in or as things progress. But, please, if you haven't already had a chance to, please like and subscribe to the Cantina Cast channel. We're doing this as kind of a special series of shows focused, of course, on Celebration 2027. Our primary shows are focused on Star Wars. Right now, we've got a number of episodes that are about to break with The Mandalorian coming out tomorrow night for us. And we've got a Patreon, we've got all that stuff. But at a minimum, if you could just be so kind as to like and subscribe and leave us a comment. If you got questions about anything, feel free to throw them down there. I've been monitoring and watching that. We can certainly ask them. And if I can't answer them, I will escalate that to my manager, which is Joel, and he can hopefully help you guys. All right. Anything else, guys, before we get out of here?
No, this has been great. These last 3 Road to Celebration episodes have been really good and been really well received. So thanks, Joel and Rod and Brian and everyone who has taken part. And this is like Albert says, we might take a break because news will be minimal, but there's still so much that we could talk about in regards to Star Wars Celebration. So look for this series to pick up when appropriate.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for the invite. I've had a blast over the past 3 episodes. Can't wait for the next couple of ones. Thank you again.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. On behalf of myself, Joel, and Chris, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you guys here on the next episode.
You're still listening? Wow. That's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.